What's up, guys? Just hanging out here today. Hurricane Irma, the last little bits of it rolling through right now. Evie's back over there folding some laundry. Say hi, Evie.
Hello.
She's knocking that out, so we figured we'd go live and talk with you guys. And I have a really cool subject I want to talk about, so we're going to wait till some people get here. Plus, I got to build the stream, and then we're going to jump into it. Today's topic, though, is going to be Star Wars. Star Wars laundry time. If you guys have any questions you have for us, please feel free to come up with them as hell. What is up, Phil? I figured you'd be the first one in here, man. Phil, we're going to be talking about some Star Wars today. So I came up with something really interesting about Star Wars, and it's always been rolling around in my head, and I wanted to see what you guys think about it, and maybe we can hashtag this out. I like that. We can hashtag this out. That's good. That's a good play on words. I should hashtag that or something. Whatever it is, that thing. Okay.
Or from back in our day, we knew it as the pound sign.
Right. Remember when hashtag was the pound sign? Absolutely. You know, press pound for more options. But that's not what it means. So what's up, Phil? What you been up to? Star Wars, yeah. All right, so what my thing was, Phil, about Star Wars. Hold on, let me get all this finished and going. Hopefully, some more people can join us too, because hashtag this out. He made it. Hashtag this out. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I'm going to put that in my topics right there. Hashtag hashtag it out. There we go. So that's me. Hashtag it out. Uh, how you doing today, Phil? It should be. Let's see. It's about seven, almost 7:30 there for you, I think. So it's not too late. Let me get all this together and built and everything. And once everything is set to go, then we're gonna dive into the topic of Star Wars today, and we'll see what you guys think on this subject. Evie's heard this topic before. I've discussed this idea. Of course, she doesn't really think much of it though, but she's not a Star Wars fan like I am. Good. Okay, what are you saying there? Not much. I'm making a clone of a Street Fighter 2, but with a different. Plus the Pico. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's 7:20. So you're 6 hours ahead. Perfect. Just wanted to make sure that I actually wanted. I had just said I wanted to get on at this time specifically so that my people hanging out in the UK can hang out. Because you guys, I always go stream so late and live that most of you guys are asleep and you don't get to tune in. And I really want to reach out to my UK audience a lot more. Uh, Big thanks to everybody in Canada who's tuning in. Out of left field, Canada comes in. Always happy to have that. I appreciate it. Everybody. I appreciate everybody viewing. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Star Wars. And I have a very specific something I want to go over with Star Wars. And it was funny, too, is last night I was watching a little bit of How I Met Your Mother. And this subject was coming up. The same thing I was talking about came up in that TV show. And I was like, okay, so this isn't just me who kind of thinks like at least some kind of writers, not necessarily the characters in the TV show, but at least some of the writers, there are people who think the same way I do. And I wanted to go over with you guys and see if that's something that you guys have noticed. If it's not something you've long noticed, it's going to be an interesting subject. So hopefully you guys stick around for it. And we're going to go over so much. Might be it might be mind blowing if you don't think a lot about deep into Star Wars. If you're not a deep thinker, this is probably just going to be something that's like what. And that's how I used to watch movies, was I would just take them at their surface. But then I started looking into things like hidden stuff into it, especially like the first movie I guess I would say that I started looking for hidden stuff would have been when someone brought up to me The Shining, uh, with Jack Nicholson, the adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining, and And there was a lot of hidden stuff in that movie too, supposedly. So that's when I started looking into things and started thinking of deeper meanings. Like there's the whole out there Jar Jar Binks theory that Jar Jar Binks was originally supposed to be the Phantom Menace and stuff like that. So that's more Star Wars stuff we could always talk about for later. Let me get these going. We're almost done. What was y'all's favorite Star Wars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or Rebellion? Now Rebellion, I didn't like Rebellion because I knew how it was going to end. It's kind of hard to release a movie when you can't build up a suspense scene when I know that they're going to be okay at least till the end of the movie. Why? Because I've seen exactly what happens after the movie. Oh, good, Phil. Then you're going to really love this one, buddy. You are going to love this one.
Butter, stop.
Hurricane Irma's outside right now, or what's left of it.
Just gray skies.
Yeah, gray skies, rainy. I was hoping it was going to be a lot worse, and maybe we get a tornado too or off of it. But the storm lost so much strength. Uh, they made this out. We were just saying this too, Evie. Weren't they just like? Tell them about how you were saying that they were making a mountain out of a molehill, is what you said, right?
Yeah. Because the court, like I was supposed to have jury duty, and they postponed it, and I can only
phone, and when I did, it
cancel.
canceled. Okay. So what we were saying, oh, sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean to lose connection on there. So Evie, what you were saying about the storm and
They were talking about having flooding and everything down in the Cumberland, and postponing court. I think just because of what was going on and how they didn't have a lot of the EMTs and stuff were lined up at the roads waiting to go down.
Okay.
So, and police officers and everything, so they didn't. I think that's why they postponed court, is because they were anticipating this huge, massive storm.
And it didn't come through.
So far, no.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad for us. Hopefully Amy's okay down in Florida. We know that my phone, your sound has gone down. What do you mean my sound, Phil?
Better.
Okay, we didn't lose it. Man, I'm having some just technical difficulties today, guys. I'm sorry. I got it fixed there. It's all squared away. Yeah. I'm quieter. Do you mean I'm speaking quieter, or is it just not picking up as well? Oh, let me make sure all my volumes are up there. Indeed, 1 second. Should be good to go now. Alright, I think that should be good. Sorry about all this, Phil. I know, man. I'm losing connection. I'm gaining connection. My bad. I'll try to speak up a little louder. I do apologize. Maybe if I move the camera a little closer, that'll help. No, not so much. Okay. Well, I do apologize, Phil. Hold on. Let me save. I want to check out and see if it's on my end. Then, and this is why I set up like this specifically to do this, so that I can jump in and find out for myself how it's sounding. Let's see. Look at that blank stare on my face. Terrible, terrible. No, I hear what you're saying. I know what you're talking about. Come here, bud. It is much quieter, and I do apologize. I don't know what's going on. Let me check out. Hold on. Maybe this will help. Maybe this will help. And I apologize if it cuts out again. Okay, Now I think I got it. Hopefully, did that fix it at all? It's one of the. I am so sorry about all of this. My volume is not picking up very clearly at all. Does that help at all? No? What if I adjust my volumes? Let's see if I turn everything up. Alright, hopefully that fixed it. Let's see if that fixed it, because we're ready to get into the Star Wars bit about today's talk. So hopefully that's not too bad. If it is, I apologize, and I'll just try to speak in a louder voice. It does look like the microphone is picking things up a lot better now, so hopefully that fixed the problem. I don't know why. No, it should be good now. I was hitting some weird buttons, but it does look like the mic is picking up better now, so that should be a lot more clear. I think my notification, just the volume was just down, and it wasn't picking up. All right, Brad's here too. Brad, that's Brad. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about in Star Wars today with you guys is, and that's what today's topic is going to be. Evie's doing laundry today, so she's just folding the laundry up and stuff like that. I've been shuttling it down, running the washer, changing over the dryer, so it's a team effort. But what I wanted to talk today about Star Wars is, all right, so I don't know. Uh, I, and this is just my personal opinion, I see where Anakin was coming from when he said, "Do you remember?" In I think it was the third movie of the newer ones, with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan is telling him, "Don't you see that the Sith are evil?" And Anakin said, "In my eyes, the Jedi are evil." Okay, so the Jedi are evil, and then I started thinking about how could anyone see the Jedi as evil, and uh, and so I started thinking to myself, what would make the Jedi evil? And what would make the Jedi evil? This is it very possibly could have, Phil. So if you think about it though, and then there was also other parts, and we'll get into that more too. But let me go ahead and get started explaining what I'm thinking. So, what picture? Which one? This one, or that one? It's not the time for that, mate. It's not the time. All right. So anyway, if I was a Sith, right, and I said that the Jedi were evil, how would I go about justifying in my thinking of that? And then I started thinking, I was like, well, if the Jedi were the knights that were hired to protect the Senate, they were the Senate's essentially special mission bodyguards or whatnot, and special troops. And the Sith had. Now remember, Anakin, before he fully became, I guess, a Sith Lord, he was Darth Vader, I guess, though. But the he Darth Vader always wanted to overthrow the Emperor. That is clear. He always thought he was stronger than the Emperor. But when he was talking to Obi-Wan, he says, "I see the Jedi is evil. If I would have known that the Senate had been infiltrated, which means who's ever controlling the Senate is also controlling the Jedi, if that's being controlled by an evil entity, then yes, the Jedi would have been evil." And if you look at how Anakin was saying, especially with Count Dooku, is where I get a lot of my backing on this, is that Dooku even says, I don't, we need to overthrow them. This is they're evil, blah blah blah. He's technically right, because the Jedi, while they were an entity for good, they also had been corrupted, and in that corruption is where you can start seeing the turn for evil. And it goes back to episode 1, where originally the Phantom Menace would have come into play. And who was the Phantom Menace? And everyone, of course, thinks that it was Darth Maul, but it wasn't, because that wasn't a Phantom. Now you start seeing how all this ties together, and if George Lucas would have been allowed to, I think, play it out the way he wanted to, it would have come out a lot better. So Jar Jar Binks being the Phantom Menace infiltrated, and you always think, oh well, the bad guy was Darth Plagueis, but it really wasn't. It was always. Oh, Ash, what's up? Wow, first time I get Ash on a live one. So happy. Star Wars is cool. So if Anakin says that the Jedi are evil, and we know that the original Phantom Menace was supposed to be Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks has infiltrated the Council not as a known enemy, but as a Phantom Menace. Then the Jedi would have been corrupt because their head of state was corrupt. And it's just like kind of like the military. The military isn't generally corrupt. What's corrupt is a corrupt government that controls the military. But in essence, it makes the military do bad things. So we can look at it then. Well, yeah, but I would say though that at which point, which side was the more righteous one? And at one point, it would have been the Jedi who were doing righteous deeds and making sure wrongs were righted, and general keeping a general welfare. But at no time though did the Empire, though, when you really think about it, what did the Empire generally want? Even we're going to go ahead and just talk the broad spectrum. So what was the whole broad spectrum was that what were the rebels fighting for is what I'm trying to understand. And I guess if it goes back to the rebels were the droid army. And see, it's just like that. Stormtroopers weren't inherently evil either. It's just that when they were given their orders, they followed as such because they were a trained army. And in the third movies, like 3, 4, and 5, 4, 5, and 6, we always see the stormtroopers being portrayed as the evil guys, but they're not. At one point, they were the good guys. Stormtroopers were the good guys, and from the third movie to the second movie to the fourth movie, they become the bad guys. And I'm trying to say, at which point did the good guys become the bad guys, and the bad guys become the good guys? Because if stormtroopers are the bad guys, and Anakin was saying the Jedi are evil, and the Jedi were who created the stormtroopers, then they would have been evil, right? And Anakin, by trying to overthrow, taking down the Jedi Council, taking down the Jedi School, and all that, he was putting a stop to what would happen to the Jedi, because they couldn't see that they were being manipulated. And in that manipulation is what caused them to be evil. What do you think, Evie?
I tuned everything out. Once you said Star Wars, I was gone.
Oh.
Evil, good, sure.
But see, though, that's the thing, though, Phil. They say the dark side. Just because it's dark doesn't mean it's the evil side. It's just a darker side. But darker isn't necessarily bad. I would want to be on the dark side. It seems that the dark side of the Force seems a lot more productive and useful. For the fact that the dark side can save lives. The Jedi cannot save lives. They protect life, but they can't really ultimately save it from anything. But the dark side can. So I would say the dark side, remember though, the dark side isn't evil, it's just a darker side. You can take a righteous view to things, you can take a world view to things. Either one though, but I'm trying to say is that the Jedi the council was infiltrated. That's without a doubt. And again, it was not the Emperor who was the infiltrator. He was always there. He was always there. He was always a counselor. He was with Queen Amidala. He was always somebody who was there. He wasn't a Phantom Menace anything. So Jar Jar Binks was the Phantom Menace. And what happened was there was such a bad outcry from the public about Jar Jar Binks and everything like that, that's why the character was scrubbed. And out of nowhere, we got a replacement with Count Dooku. He just kind of stepped out of nowhere. And what it was is George Lucas had to replace the villain that would later be revealed. You got to go watch the theory. There's tons of stuff, some great stuff on the theory of Darth Jar Jar. And when you tie that in with Anakin seeing that the Jedi Council had been infiltrated, and it had, because supreme power was given to Jar Jar, who then petitioned the council to give authority to the chancellor for him to take over. Now, if Anakin, granted though, him taking over, now if Anakin, who later in episode 5 revealed that he wanted Luke to help him overthrow the Emperor. This wasn't a new idea to him. This was something he'd always been known, but he knew that he had to take them out from the inside. It was the only way. I think, and then especially at the end of episode 6, we see that Darth Vader was able to be redeemed, which means I don't think he was evil. He was just to the dark side. He saw what was going on, and the only way is he had to wait for another Jedi that would be strong enough to be able to aid him. Yoda would never see it through his way because Yoda was still Yoda was one of the ones who was happy to use the clones. Maybe he was able to see what was going on and knew that this is going to go bad unless I can stop the Jedi, because the Jedi are going to be the ones who are going to bring down this council. And they were. And they were. Technically speaking, it was the Jedi who turned over emergency power to Jar Jar, who allowed Jar Jar to turn over to petition. So if Anakin was trying to stop the Jedi because they were being manipulated, then he was doing the right thing. He didn't seem like he was doing the right thing at the time. But that's the thing about time, is you can't always see what the right thing is, what the actions of somebody at the time. I mean, for instance, just America, and this is really interesting since I got so many of my British friends here, but technically the actions of Americans were considered treasonous. It was a treason. We were fighting against King George. And that was treason from the inside. But you see how that kind of plays out, how it can kind of match? It's not that the Jedi were evil, it's that because they were being manipulated by evil, they were inherently doing evil. And so when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting, and he goes, "Don't you see the Sith are evil?" And he goes, "From my view, the Jedi are evil." And from Anakin's point of view, you got to take a subjective look. Yes, the Jedi were trying to do righteous, but in their attempts to do righteous, were being manipulated by evil. So inherently, yes, their actions were evil. I mean, and if you really look at it, what did the Empire ever really hope to accomplish other than stomping out a rebellion that was causing devastation to an empire that seemed pretty solid? I think it also goes back to the movie Clerks, if you guys aren't familiar with Clerks. And they're talking about that, and they're talking about the Death Star being built. Now, when the first Death Star was destroyed, who was on board? A few dignitaries, maybe, a lot of stormtroopers, and pretty much the Empire's troops on board. So when that was destroyed, it was a military target of destruction. Fine. Now, when the second Death Star was destroyed, to have created one Death Star that took this long and then to get another one almost to the point of operation partially built, you would have needed, like the movie, and this is not my own theory, this is from Clerks, and God bless the Weinstein Company, another great Jewish minds thinking alike. But it would have taken tons and tons of civilian contractors to get that to the point. So what happens is, if you really want to break it down, was that the first Death Star, a government program, was blown up by a bunch of rebels, and then the government comes along and says, we're going to enact this sweet government contract to try to get this military operation up and running, so we're going to hire tons and tons of contractors, sweet government job, probably with some health benefits for your family back in the Outer Rim. So here you are, a guy just trying to make a living for your family, and once again, here comes these rebels and kills you. That's a lot of civilian casualties that would have had to been on board that second Death Star. And not to mention that that's all the rebels. They never say what they were fighting for. And then once we see Episode 7, what did the rebels actually accomplish? Nothing. They accomplished nothing. The deaths of the dark side. Now, though, what's happened, though, is we've got an evil person who's been put in place who's even worse than what the Emperor was doing. The Emperor still wasn't that bad. His ultimate goal was just to stamp out the Jedi that were being manipulated by a Sith Lord that wasn't him. I don't even think that Darth Plagueis even knew about Darth Jar Jar. I don't think he even knew. That's how good Jar Jar was. That's how much of a Sith he was, that he was able to manipulate other Siths into not believing it. Yeah, Phil, I agree, man. What do you guys think on that? I mean, I know it's kind of out there and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, At least to me, it makes a little sense, and it's just something interesting though that you got to look at it from another perspective to see who the real bad guy is. It's just I don't know. It's a little it's interesting to think there's so much in there. Have you guys heard the theory of Jar Jar, Darth Jar Jar? There's tons of signs that he was a Sith Lord. Uh, he didn't seem to be banished because he was clumsy. If you remember when in episode 1 when they first met Jar Jar and they're coming back down into the water. Following first off, he did a giant jump, which looked like a force jump. He jumped much higher than you saw any other Gungan attempt to jump. And you would say, well, maybe all Gungans can jump that high. But when we saw the battle of the droids and the Gungans, none of them appeared to use any kind of high jump that would really assist in a lot of getting out of the way of main fire. So that doesn't appear to be. Then when he says, well, I was clumsy, that's why I was banished, it doesn't seem that he was clumsy because when he shows up, people run in fear. You generally don't run in fear of the clumsy person. You generally stop, oh, look at this idiot who's back. Instead, they run in fear. Why? It's because he was Sith Lord. He also had the yellow eyes. There's lots of hand motions that Jedi did. Lots of hand motions. And that has something to do with it, I think. So, um, I think, like I said, that the Jedi were the evil ones, and the Sith, not necessarily good, but not the ones who were the bad guys in this story. And I think that may be what George Lucas may have intended was to show how people who want to do good can be manipulated to do evil and still look like they're and still feel that they're on the side of righteous. well, well, I don't know. He worked with Spielberg, so I have to give him some credit on that. E.T. was a great movie, so yeah. Uh, but I guess that's it's just interesting to see though that if you look at it from that perspective, truly the Jedi were the evil ones, and the Sith, not necessarily the Sith, at least Darth Vader from his perspective, he was seeing the Sith as they do their thing, but they're not really ultimately evil. But you are being manipulated by a Phantom Menace, that was Jar Jar, who maybe I would love to see if we found out that Snoke was Jar Jar, that would be perfect, and that his form had been destroyed. Because you never really find out what happens to Jar Jar. He kind of just falls off the map. Now I've heard that he's seen in some of the other Star Wars. You can see him being inserted into places, or his ears were somewhere, or something along those lines. But that doesn't cut it for me. Jar Jar was a character. There's never you got to remember everything in Star Wars is all right. For instance, there's times where Jar Jar falls and he goes from one side to the other, and you can see a droid's head specifically track him and fall. And you got to remember that when they use CGI things like this, nothing is unintentional. Ha, yeah. So anything that they wanted to control, they did a good job of controlling. And there's just so much evidence that Jar Jar was a Sith Lord, and he was the true Phantom Menace that infiltrated again. He infiltrated, and then power was he became a. I mean, really, a nobody clumsy Gungan made general. That doesn't seem likely, but he was able to. He did do a hand sign, and I make. Oh, Jar Jar, we make you Gungan general. Oh, thank you so much, Essa. But he used his hand sign to do that. And then the great deception is when he was in the council, hand signs are a gesture. He was able to control the weak minded to give special authority over to the chancellor in wartime from a clone army that was made by the Jedi, commissioned by the Jedi, that would later be the bad guys. So if you don't think that at any point in Star Wars the good guys become the bad guys, the stormtroopers are a prime example of that. The good guys became the bad guys. Just like that. Just by who was in control. So if who's in control, a good guy is in control of the bad guys are inherently good guys, right? Because bad guys who are in control by good guys can't do anything really seriously bad because they're under the thumb of good guys, right? So you don't take over at that level, you take over at the top level. And once you take over and infiltrate at the top by trying to insert an evil person who then can manipulate good guys to do bad things, you've turned the good guys into bad guys. So, yes, the Jedi being manipulated were the bad guys. And Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, was right the whole time. We see that he had remorse for things that happened. And the reason that Darth Vader was like so keen to seek out his kids is I don't think he wanted to kill them like the Emperor. The Emperor's like, we're gonna seek them out and kill them. And Vader was like, yeah, we're gonna seek them out and kill them. And he was like, no, we're gonna seek out my kid and I'm gonna try to partner up with him to take you down. Because you are evil, being manipulated by a more eviler person. Because we never see in episode 4, 5, or 6 nothing of Jar Jar. Nothing of Jar Jar. And Jar Jar could have been behind him the whole time, pulling strings. You know, hey, this is what I want. And again, though, still remaining the Phantom Menace. Ah! And I do believe the character who played Jar Jar Binks, when this theory first came out, he was finally praising, finally somebody saw the truth in the Phantom Menace. Well, hey, David, how you doing, man? That's fine. Star Wars, this probably won't mean a whole lot to you then, buddy, but you're still feel free to stick around. Happy to have you joining. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. I'm going a little more in depth in Star Wars than somebody who's kind of new on the cusp of it. So this probably conversation won't make a whole lot of sense to you, but please feel free to try to keep up, as I think it's still got a really great message and idea behind it. So, Ash, Phil, Brad, what do you guys think? Or all my avid Star Wars fans out there, what do you think on the subject? I say again, the Jedi were evil, and the Sith that the Jedi weren't evil, but they were being manipulated by evil, so inherent their actions are evil, and therefore evil. Which makes you then, if you look at the rest of the movie, you know what? I've seen it at the game store, Jedi Academy, and I have the original Xbox. Uh, so yeah, I've seen it. I was wondering if I should get it or not. Um, and it's just really weird though that you had to wipe out all the Jedi that were willing to believe this. And he even got I think at one point the reason Anakin felt that the Jedi had to be destroyed was because when he tried to convince Obi-Wan, who was a dedicated Jedi, and oh, well, thank you, Ash. But see, that's good though. At least you're thinking about it. Wow, that's something new. Now, when you watch Star Wars, you can see it a different way. It's a whole new movie when you look at it that way. It's a whole new movie. And there's so many more things, so many more signs you can look for. Do remember that it was done by animatronics and it was done by CGI. So anything in there that's CGI that looks off or is weird was done on purpose. Done on purpose. So I think the hero of the story of Star Wars is Darth Vader. Darth Vader is the ultimate good guy. He sees the manipulation that's going on, even though he's working with the guy. But what's the best way to get close to an enemy that you know is very powerful? Is you don't try to charge at him like the Jedi did, because look what happened. They got destroyed. Now, Vader, when he saw this, he was like, whoa, man, I'm going to have to work this game carefully, and I'm going to need more power to get behind me to be able to do this. And you know that the moment he got away from the Emperor, he did his own thing. He did his own thing. Oh, yeah, man, for sure. When you start looking at it through that way, that Jar Jar was the original Phantom Menace. Nothing by chance happens. Now, if you remember, even Obi-Wan says, well, maybe these Jar Jar running into Qui-Gon was just an accident. The chance that he crash landed on a planet next to him. But then you remember that Obi-Wan says in Episode 3, in the Force, there is no such thing as luck. So that even goes to show that maybe Han Solo was Force sensitive, especially since when they're flying through the asteroid field, and C-3PO says the chances of flying successfully through an asteroid are 875 billion to 1. And he goes, I don't like to have you telling me odds. Well, he was able to successfully navigate that because, especially with such a large ship, in a way that he was able to maybe know how to move things. And that would have made Rey such a strong Force user. Exactly. Now that also goes back to then Count Dooku. Count Dooku would have been a good guy then, as he was saying, look, we got to go back and mess up the counselor. We can take down the Emperor, but you got to join me. And he was like, no, you're on the dark side. But because the Jedi had been manipulated into thinking that dark meant bad and light meant good, well, it's not either or. There's no good or there's no bad. It's just two different sides of a coin. And when you think about it like that, their manipulation to say we can't join Dooku because he uses dark side force powers. But if they would have teamed up with Dooku, they probably could have overthrown the Emperor because Dooku had an insight on this one. Can you imagine if Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Dooku had all... And let's throw in Mace Windu as well, absolutely. And the others just of the Council. We'll throw the rest of them in there, and they went up against the Emperor. It would have been no problem. It would have been no problem. No problem. But it was because of their pride that they say we can't work with dark side force users, that we can't do this. We must fight you. In turn, they killed Dooku, who was the only other person who saw into this. Phil said hi, hon. He saw you walk by. So if we look at it from that light, Dooku saw the light. Maybe he was able to get that spark into Anakin's mind, and Anakin was like, a little more critical thinking here. And then he started thinking, he was like, holy crap, this is being overthrown from the inside. All right, Phil said hi. To defeat a dark side user, you really need to have a light side user. And you say, well, that's not true. That's not true. To defeat a dark force user of the Force, you kind of need a dark force user to beat them. And you say, well, that's not true. Look at Darth Maul. Darth Maul was beaten by Obi-Wan. He was beaten by Obi-Wan. Yeah, but Obi-Wan was also acting out of rage because Qui-Gon had been killed. And he actually didn't kill Darth Maul if you go to the Clone Wars, which is Star Wars canon now. That Maul survived that. But Obi-Wan was using rage at that point, which is a dark side trait. So he was able to defeat, not kill Maul using dark side. Brad, thanks, man, for stopping in. We appreciate, buddy. Thanks for always hitting that like button. I appreciate it, man. We're going to keep the convo rolling. Oh, yeah. We've been doing a lot of laundry today. A lot of laundry.
And only the laundry that they've seen me carry up is the towels in my clothes.
Yeah, Phil said that's a big pile of washing.
That was my clothes.
That was her
not
clothes.
Even your clothes.
That was just her clothes. All your stuff has just been her clothes. She's got, look at this. She's got 2 closets and then a walk-in closet full of clothes. 2 closets, regular side closets, and then a walk-in closet full of clothes. But I mean, that's over years of she doesn't get rid of anything. So,
how many pairs of jeans did you own when we got married?
not a lot.
You had 17 pairs of jeans. 17 pairs of jeans. Don't talk to me about how many clothes I have.
Well,
you know how many pairs of jeans I have? 4.
Okay, but in California, every time I went into town, which was on a payday, I would go to Aeropostale and pick up
How much were those jeans that still had the tag on them?
Like $20, $30.
No.
I never bought, I don't buy it at retail price, so I would always buy off. So those were only like $17, $18.
What was your most expensive pair of jeans?
My most expensive pair of jeans, how much did I buy them for?
Yeah.
$180.
Exactly. Don't talk to me
But
about
those were
jeans.
designer jeans.
I don't care.
And the t-shirt that I got with it was $120, and it was a limited edition t-shirt, one of 100 made for Vegas.
So?
I love that
never
t-shirt. It was
in
an
my
awesome
life
t-shirt.
pay $180 for a pair of jeans.
Well, Phil says, wow, what a ton of clothes. I think I could wear all of mine and not get hot. Oh, that's funny, Phil. That's funny.
And for your information, my walk-in closet's pretty empty. I moved all my clothes.
Okay. But, all right. So, Ash, you still here, buddy? You still here, Ash? Am I
got tired of
am I still blowing minds?
Laundry. There we go. Okay.
All right.
Good enough for me for now.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. It was 180 American dollars for jeans, and they were designer jeans, okay? Now, you have to also remember that when I bought those jeans, I had literally just gotten back from Afghanistan that morning. So what I did was is we landed from Afghanistan at the air base at the field. Okay, cool. Didn't know if you were still hanging out or not, buddy. We're gonna talk some more Star Wars, but I gotta tell Phil this story. So we landed from Afghanistan at the air base, and then we drove from that base to the base I was stationed at in California, Fort Irwin, which was we landed at about 5 in the morning. We were back to base by about 6:30. They told us we couldn't leave base until 9 a.m. or we couldn't go past that town. We said screw that. My buddy got his truck that happened to just be on base, and we jumped in it. His wife had left him, so it was all good to go. So we had a truck, and we jumped in the truck, and by 7, 8 in the morning, I was in Vegas. So, that earlier that day, I was in Afghanistan, and now here it is, less than 24 hours later, and I'm in Las Vegas on 4-day pass. We got there wicked early. We weren't supposed to go that far, but we just said, they were like, you need sleep and everything. That's what Red Bull is for, and Monster Energy drink. Sega. So we got juiced up for life, and all right, so then I needed to buy some clothes. So I bought some shorts and like a t-shirt and just some regular shoes just to kick it around in so that I had something to wear during the day because we were going to be there all day and all night. We got a hotel room and everything. But when the store opened, I needed some clothes to wear. And, I walked around and I looked at several stores, and normally I just downplay. But you know what? I said, today I want something that's going to stand out because I deserve it. So I bought myself this really nice pair of jeans. I mean, you guys have no idea. The feel to them was really great. The way the sizes were perfect. It was amazing. They were really great jeans. And the
Brotherhood of the Traveling Pants.
I don't know. These were some freaking awesome jeans. And then, when I wound up selling them because I grew out of them. I got a little older, a little bigger, and they just didn't fit anymore. And when I sold them to the used thrift store or whatever, the clothing store, I got like $45 for them. So I still made out like a champ at $135 pair of jeans isn't too bad. But there was this t-shirt I have, and I still got this one somewhere, and it's really nice. And it's just got this cool skull on it. It was really airy and breezy. And that was like $120, but it was a limited edition, one of 120 made for Las Vegas by this famous fashion designer. So I've still got that shirt somewhere. It's a really cool shirt, and it's really breezy. I love it.
You also bought the coat, too.
A coat?
Yeah, with the cross on the back.
Oh, I bought that when I came home on R&R. I love that jacket. And it's not a cross. Those are scissors. If you ever look at them, they're scissors crisscross. I got a nice dinner jacket that's got these nice cool... in the shape of a cross with these cool scissors across. It's really cool. All right, so back to Star Wars because we're Star Warsing it up today. Okay, so is there any other theories? I mean, I can talk about movie theories on Star Wars all day. We can also go into other movies. If you start thinking of like that as good guys, you have to look at the real actions of the person. When you start looking at certain movies to see who the bad guy was, sometimes the hero of the movie, or is portrayed as the hero, is the bad guy. Think about this too. Let's just for a second. Let's think about this in the movie Titanic. Everybody loved Titanic. What would have happened if Jack had just left Rose alone after he saved her? Went to his dinner. Hey, that was fun. Thank you very much. The turning point was when he invited her downstairs. If he hadn't invited her downstairs, okay? If Jack had not invited Rose downstairs, what would have happened? She would have been all right. She probably would have stayed on the boat with Cal. She could have still left him. She still had that option. She was capable of doing that any time. Jack probably would have survived because he's only had himself to worry about on the ship. And he probably would have been all right. He was a survivor. He would have made it to a boat or figured out a way to survive, as most likely. Even if we say, no, he didn't survive, well, his odds of surviving with her were definitely not good, and they went down. Surviving on your own is much easier. So we'll say that Jack survives. Rose makes it. Obviously, Cal would have made it. Her mother still would have made it. If Jack and Rose hadn't gotten together, Jack probably would have lived. Cal still would have killed himself by the end of the movie. She may not have had the same life, but she still had the option of leaving him if she really truly wanted to. So I'm not saying Jack was the bad guy, but he was the one who definitely set that catalyst in motion for disaster for himself. So that's just another way of looking at movies. Look at it from a different point of view, different point of views. And I think that's what really teaches us best was that Anakin saw into he saw something, and you can't beat something from the outside. You have to beat it from the inside. And maybe he was like, maybe I need to get close enough to understand what's going on. And then when he realized the full scope of it, he was like, yo, the Jedi are going to be manipulated. They're being used for evil, so they're evil. It's just something you got to think about like that, man. It's just things like that. You can't always just go off of what they thought. I mean, granted, though, the position presented, we're supposed to think that the Jedi are the good guys here, the good guys here are the bad guys. And again, though, the rebels, once they blew up a system of government, which they took down the empire, an empire. An empire is a system of government. It seems like things were running pretty smooth prior to the rebels saying, I still don't understand what the rebels didn't like about the empire. I'm still trying to figure it out what it is they were fighting. I still don't know. I still don't know. Why did the rebels want to fight? Do you guys know why were the rebels against? Is it because, and so, you would say, well, because they were against the Jedi. Not really. It doesn't seem like the rest of the universe really cared if there was or wasn't Jedi. Because once they were gone, everything still seemed to carry on just fine. Whatever happened to Coruscant? It never mentions again what goes on there. We just know that there was some people that didn't like the Empire. I think there's multiple. You got to think about it. The rebels didn't like the Empire. Did they not like the Empire when it was run by Senator Palpatine, or did they not like the Empire prior to all of that? How far back did the rebels go, I guess? Is at what point did they feel that the Empire was no good? That makes a big point, because if the rebels only decided to fight against the council, against the Senate after Palpatine took over, if that's when they decided to fight, then the rebels were fighting on the same side as Vader, not knowing that they were fighting the same enemy but from a different way. And by the rebels then hiding Luke from Vader, if Vader could have found Luke sooner, trained him secretly like he was, if you look at the video game, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, where Vader was training his own pupil. Which, of course, why would Vader be training his own pupil? Because in secret he wanted to overthrow the Empire, because he knew that he was. Oh, nice, very cool, Phil. So if we see that Vader was always trying to find an apprentice to train along his side to fight the Emperor, then Vader was never a bad guy ever. So why did the Jedi start blowing up plants? Start blowing up plants? Do you mean planets? I don't recall the Jedi ever blowing up planets. I know that the Jedi. Well, I mean, there was no planets they blew up, so it was the Empire definitely blew up planets. They blew up. What was the name of that planet Princess Leia was from? Alderaan. She blew up They blew up planet Alderaan. Now they blew up planet Alderaan. That's the only one that I knew of, and that was Darth Vader blew up that one. That was the only planet that got destroyed. Now, if you look at it though, when the Jedi took down the Empire and they blew them up, I don't think that anyone planned to have that kind of a vacuum of power set up, and nobody stepped in. The rebels clearly had no system of government in place ready to replace the one they were taking down. And what happens is you see a rise in factions, and when that happens, and that's exactly what happened. Is all you did was replace. Now look at this. They knew how to destroy the Death Star. The dark side said, "My phone is going mad." But I'm just kidding, Ash. Uh, when I can't remember. I barely watched the new one. It was terrible. It's terrible. I'm trying to watch it all to get the story that they're getting out of it, but it's just such a repeat of the first three. There's nothing new in it. Very, very little new. I mean, the times almost match up to how long into the movie they introduce Chewbacca and Han Solo. It's almost the exact same time into the movie. How long it takes to introduce those same two characters. It's like all they did was take the first three movies, 4, 5, and 6, and like, okay, we're gonna rewrite it and just change a little bit of the plot line. A little bit of the plot line. Very little has changed. Someone living in a desert, still unhappy with their situation, meets the Millennium Falcon and gets off planet to go on a heroic adventure. Which Star Wars movie am I talking about? Can't tell, can you? But it would be a very clean definition of both movies. It was just a joke. It was a joke. We'll see. They changed a lot too in Star Wars. Originally in the books, he had a son named Luke Skywalker had a son named what did he name him? Ben Skywalker, I think it was. Something like that. And they had to go fight Leia and Han's son because he was doing all that stuff. And I get that they wanted to change it to mix it up, and that's fine. You know, it doesn't affect the story at all. But it just seems like they're kind of veering away from that, which would have been a better series. And then that still begs the question is, because Luke had a daughter, who was the mother? And I think that was covered. She was actually like a gray Jedi. And if you're not familiar with what gray Jedis are, is they use a little bit of both light and dark. So, for an example of who a gray Jedi would have been, Qui-Gon Jinn from the first movie, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, he would have been considered a gray Jedi because he went against the Council. He was argumentative. When he knew he was right, he did what he would go against others when he knew he was right. And I think that was crucial too to Anakin's growing up, because Anakin saw in Qui-Gon someone willing to say, just because your rules say this, I'm not willing to accept that. And that, I think, affected Anakin in such a way that through his life he was always able to he grew up because he idolized Qui-Gon so much for getting him off planet, that when he saw Qui-Gon fight for him to the Jedi High Supreme Council, is that oh, well, they had to build the Death Star to protect themselves from rebels, because there was a rebel alliance out there. You got to remember, I guess, who were the droids? Who were the clones fighting? Well, the clones were fighting a droid army, so I would assume then that was who started then. If you notice that the rebels use a lot of drones and robots for things, so then if you were you have a clone army against a droid army, because that's who was really fighting the two wars, okay? And this is how I'm going to answer that question there. All right, so the rebels then team up with, obviously, the droids to start fighting. But you also have to remember that would have been General Grievous, who was also a droid, who was fighting on the behalf of the droid army, which we know now that was fighting on the behalf of good. It was kind of like this too. Okay, let me just stay on topic because I'm going to get off topic here. There's so many thoughts coming in and different ways to approach this. Let me just get on one and we'll work it out. We'll keep talking it out. All right. So the droid army is fighting the clone army. Just because the Jedi Council is dead doesn't mean the rebels who were still the droid army, all that happened that made what really happened that made the stormtroopers bad was they were issued Order 66, which then had them turn on their Jedi counterparts. So they killed their Jedi counterparts, and the mission continued. And the mission continued. Okay, the only thing was that changed was there was a war, clones, droids. Clones and droids. The clones killed their officers, essentially, and continued on with the war without the officers. They took their head. So that war didn't stop. The all that really wound up happening is that war continued on. That war is still continuing on. But now rebels who I guess now are supporting the droid army are fighting back and causing a bigger nuisance. So now you've got to be able to come out with something more destructive. I guess something similar to like the atom bomb, something that is just so huge that if I can destroy a planet, they'll just stop fighting. They'll just stop fighting. It's still never, we still don't know why the rebels were fighting the clones. We do know that the droids from the first movie were implementing a blockade that was legal, a legal blockade, and yet government officials were sent to try to negotiate the ending of a legal blockade. But what it doesn't tell you is why the blockade was put into place. What did the Naboos do that justified a legal blockade on their planet? Were they undercutting the Trade Federation? Because that's who it was, the Trade Federation. The Trade Federation versus the Empire was what the war started coming to. Okay? So if you have to come up with a weapon that is so deadly, I mean, do remember, though, the Death Star only fired one shot in the whole movie that blew up a planet. In all of the movies. One shot. One shot. 3 movies, one shot. Blew up one planet as a demonstration of, and it was the known leader base of the rebels, which I guess then would have been part on the Trade Federation. So the Trade Federation is the bad guys. And see, boy, if you start looking at it like that, then the Jedi in hiding were definitely the bad guys. What's my favorite film of all time? Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I don't think I can just pick one because there's so many different genres of movies. I could start naming off some of my favorite movies of all time, and it's for completely different reasons why I think that movie should be in a top. I can't even give you a top 10. I think a top 100 would be the only way, and I would have to do them in no particular order because there's no one movie that, I mean, you said one movie, what's my favorite film of all time, and literally a dozen movies just flung into my head of amazing movies and why they're amazing. Okay, Star Wars is an amazing series of films. Enemy Mine was a great movie. The Sound of Music, Fiddler on the Roof, American Gangsters, what's some other great films? Gone with the Wind is a classic. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, War Games, we already said Enemy Mines, Flight of the Navigator, The First Starfighter. What was that movie with Johnny Five? No, disassemble Stephanie. Whatever that movie was. Oh, I can't remember it. Gladiator? Really? Gladiator. Tron was a great movie. Gladiator. Really, Ash? If you have to say your favorite movie of all time has to do with a movie made in the last 15 years, then your broad spectrum of movies is very small, my friend. There are so many more. Gladiator? I haven't even seen Gladiator. And in 10 years, nobody will watch Gladiator. But they'll still watch Fiddler on the Roof. They'll still watch Gone with the Wind. It's just like rock music from like 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's still going to be around. Look at Ozzy, still playing shows. Look, that music's going to be around forever. Judas Priest, Short Circuit. Thank you, Ash. Short Circuit, great movie there. That kind of music is still popular and will be today, tomorrow, later. In 15 years, no one's going to care about Justin Bieber. Nobody cares much about him now, but, little girls do. Soon he's going to get old, and then it's just going to be weird and creepy for anybody to like him like that, and then no one's going to care about his music. But if Ozzy's still breathing, they'll still go to Ozfest. There's never going to be a Bieber Fest. So when you say something like Gladiator was such a cheap movie that they were making in that genre. Like they did the Gladiator, and then they did 300, and they did Alexander, and they did Troy. It was all these movies of one style coming out all at the same time, and it was just flooded with these big action fight scenes, and then that kind of just went away. That was done. Okay, we had fun with that one, and then oh well, we'll do something with and they throw all of that at you, and then everyone gets kind of done, and they're like romantic summer movies, and then they throw all of those at you, and they're like classic comedy movies, and Adam Sandler, and see that's all they do is they throw the same crap at us over and over. So Gladiator was a movie no one's gonna remember. It was an okay cast, a movie I'm sure that did okay, but it didn't fly off the shelves. It's nothing memorable. You know, I mean, look at even 300. At least people still go around and say, "This is Sparta." What quote from Gladiator is huge? Maybe because I haven't seen it, I don't know, but it doesn't seem like there is a whole lot. That's got to go that way. Look at the camera flipped. John Wick. Haven't seen John Wick.
Oh, it was a decent movie.
Which one was that one?
You didn't watch it. You fell asleep at your mom's house when we were watching it.
Wasn't that him going to space or something? John Wick goes to Mars.
No, I vaguely remember. I just remember I liked it.
I'll tell you what movies I don't like. I don't like any kind of Iraq, Afghanistan war movies because they can't even get simple stuff right in it. It's like they don't even take the time to write a consultant out to even see who's bothering to like. Maybe we could just pay attention to some of these small little details that would probably get the most of our military viewing audience on board to think that this is even close to half right. Nah, don't even worry about that. Just put in whatever. It's fine. No. Little things like that can ruin a movie for me. And see, I pay attention to details like that, so blow a few details, and I'm looking. I never look at movies exactly for what's presented. I'm always looking at what they're not presenting to you. I like to read between the lines, and when you read between the lines, you get a much better story, a more in-depth story. Yeah. So I guess. Have you ever seen Seven Brides for Seven Brothers? What a great film. You have to like musicals, though. The Phantom of the Opera, I saw it live first on Broadway in New York, and then I saw the movie come out, and they did it justice in that one. So The Phantom of the Opera. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button is another great movie. Forrest Gump is an amazing film. Grease 1 and 2, great films. The Sandlot, amazing film. What else? What else could we name off in there? James Bond, early James Bond movie with Sean Connery was very nice. Always very good James Bond movies. But those were good, like not because they were well written or well directed or well screened. It was an over the top exaggeration done well, and that's what made it. Shawshank Redemption, absolutely. And my wife is actually she used to live right down the road from the prison that movie was filmed at, right? What was it called?
Mansfield Reformatory.
That was where they filmed Shawshank?
Yeah.
The Mansfield Reformatory. So
it's
if you guys
one of the most haunted places.
One of the most haunted places. I do believe the Ghost Hunters featured a live Halloween episode from the Mansfield Reformatory. So that was where that was shot. I think we drove past it once, right?
Oh yeah. You drive past it all the time going to Mansfield.
Okay, so I've been by it, saw it, just didn't know. Still a great film.
There, broke her tailbone in 2 places.
Jaws is a great movie. Jaws is a great movie.
Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea. Deep Blue Sea was okay. The sharks coming alive and everything. I wasn't a huge fan of that one, but it had fun. It had its moments. LL Cool J was funny in that one, blowing up the sharks and stuff like that. That was really funny. What's some other top-notch films?
The Illusionist.
Oh wow, yes, thank you. The Illusionist, with Eric Norton. Am I saying that right? Is it Eric Norton? No. Fight Club. The same Fight Club. Same guy from Fight Club. Fight Club was another great movie. I think that one gets overlooked a lot more too. Sin City wasn't bad. The first time I watched Sin City, I didn't like it, and then I had to go back and rewatch it again, and then I was able to appreciate it. Inglorious Bastards, I don't like. Green Mile, it was okay. It was okay. Again, it asked you to believe a little bit more over the top than I was comfortable with. If you're going to present a movie as something real or something like that, okay, clearly, clearly, you just say that you executed the guy and you filled out the paperwork and you let him go. That's what you do in that situation in the Green Mile. But no one bothered to do that. And so that whole movie was ruined. He should have been released at the end of the movie. That would have been that. That would have made a better movie. They should have just released him. But they didn't. They took the coward's way. So that who's the bad guy in those movies? The people who you're being seen as the good guys. The guards. The guards ultimately are the bad guys. They killed what they knew was an innocent man who had the ability to heal somebody. You don't follow your execution orders, you bring attention to that. You know what? I've tried with Inglorious Bastards though, and I can't get past. There's a scene in the movie. It's just like Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. There's really no point in watching the movie after the. I feel there's really no point in watching the movie after the courtroom scene because after that it's all kind of downhill and it starts taking this weird stupid turn. And it's not that the rest of the movie and I haven't watched it. It's still a funny movie. I just think that they peaked their writing. Like somebody sat down, wrote out this whole scene that was absolutely hilarious, and they're like, "Yes, that's the scene." But then that scene stole the movie, and the whole movie after that was kind of just like to me a little bit of a letdown. But still, Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke was good. Still Dreaming was still good. Uh, Scratch my balls, scratch my balls. That was a good movie. Good movie. Uh, So you guys, that's some of my favorites. You guys tell me what's some of your favorites. I mean, I was naming off some of like my all-time top movies, and again for different reasons. Apollo 13 I thought was an amazing movie too as well. Most Tom Hanks movies are very good. Uh, Top Gun is a freaking amazing movie. Absolutely awesome. What is some other flicks that I know everybody I don't know. There's so many. Like you got to just look at movies from the. I haven't. I want to see Eraserhead because I'm told it. Oh, The Great Gatsby was an amazing movie. I think even the new one did an amazing work on it. If you do watch it, definitely watch it in Blu-ray. The colors are what make that movie so. Is the only just like that. It pops. The whole movie pops with color, and I've never seen it. It's almost too much for your eyes. Don't watch it on a cloudy gray day. It's gonna hurt your eyes. Police Academy was good, but if we were gonna go into something like in what would be a more top notch one than that, you would I would guess I would have to put like in that kind of 80s comedy style genre. I would definitely say then Spaceballs takes the cake on that one. Without a doubt. Anything Monty Python is awesome, of course.
He's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
It's not as good as yours, Ash. But, I don't know. I don't know. God, I got an itchy nose today. I don't know. My allergies been wicked bad. Let's see. What's another good movie? Uh, for its own reasons, Home Alone was a good movie. The Good Son, since we're talking about Macaulay Culkin. Jumanji. Jumanji, of course. horse is a horse, of course, of course. The Toy was a great movie. Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Young Frankenstein. Gene Wilder movies are great. Clue, if you've never seen the movie Clue, based on the board game, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is a great movie. But if you get the DVD of it or you order it, I think you can go on Amazon and pick it up for like $2. $2. If you get it, when you put it in there, it's going to ask you how you want to see the ending. Do the all three. Do the all three. You have to do that one first. Frozen Ground with Nicolas Cage was absolutely amazing with John Cusack, Evie's boy. She loves John Cusack. $2. $2.
Oh, Better Off Dead?
Yeah. No, Frozen Ground.
That wasn't Frozen Ground.
No, I know. I was just saying John Cusack, though. $2. $2.
Yeah, that's Better Off Dead.
I know that's Better Off Dead. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but you hadn't seen that movie.
Which one?
Until I introduced Better Off Dead.
You know, I saw Better Off Dead, but only bits and pieces of it until I figured out what the name of the movie was. Because I remember my brother had watched that movie, and he was laughing about some kid going down on a bike with skis screaming about $2. So that was the first time I'd heard about it, but I'd never seen it until I actually married Evie. Braveheart was a good movie. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with Kevin Costner was really good, I thought. He did a great job. We're going to change this title up. It's not going to be... We're going to edit this. We're going to call it Star Wars Theory and Movie Talk.
Everything got switched.
There we go. Much better. Now we can do that. Braveheart, of course, though. Like I said, yeah, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, I think was a really good one. The new one I didn't bother to watch because Kevin Costner finished it. He nailed it, blew it out of the park. Didn't need to go any more into it. What else? What else? You guys keep hitting me with some more movie titles here. We got some more. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, yeah. You know, I haven't seen a lot of the old spaghetti western and Clint Eastwood movies, but I've seen a couple of them. Never seen Dirty Harry, but I'm familiar with it. I did see the one where something about where he had to take a nun and she really wasn't a nun. Saw that one. That was a pretty good one. What else? What else? Ace Ventura, absolutely. The first one, not the second one so much. The second one I really wasn't a big fan of. No, not a big Dirty Harry fan. Oh, that's okay. What was other good movies? Great movies, top-notch movies. It's a horrible movie. Oh, thank you. 2 Mules for Sister Mary. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Phil. This is sometimes why it's good to have. We have such a nice broad audience because we can. When I couldn't remember Short Circuit, Ash was right there to steal the cake. Couldn't remember 2 Mules for Sister Mary, Phil got it with the 1-2. And Evie, I think, even had to help out with that. Yeah, the Better Off Dead. Yep. So everybody's just chiming in, helping out with the top movie reviews. What's some other good? I've got so many DVDs. Evie would obviously say the Harry Potter movies. You should show him your shirt. She has a Harry Otter shirt from. We got that at the Denver, Colorado, at the aquarium, and it was a Harry Otter shirt. And I love otters, so if she wanted that, got it. I said I did not. Do not put words into my mouth, Phil. That is not what I said at all. I said nothing. Nothing. You assume too much, sir. Too much. Guys, thanks for hanging out. Ash, I really do appreciate it. Phil, this is fun, guys. I really enjoy this time with you guys. Getting to hang out, chill, and chat. This is a lot of my YouTube stuff is a lot of the stuff I really enjoy doing. I'm hanging out with you guys and talking weird stuff and all kinds of Star Wars. If there's any other kind of theories to cover. Oh. I got a video for you, Phil. Piper, if you see over, hold on, let me see if I can turn it a little bit so you can see. See the candle over there? Right there? Well, I lit it up last night, and Piper decided she wanted to explore and see what fire was for the first time. Oh, I have one right here. Thank you. So she was all over there. I assume that you're assuming my assumptions that I assume, Phil. Good stuff, though. Yeah, you're not that old, Phil. You're only like, what, 43, 44? Maybe a little older, 45? Something like that? Not that bad. Not that bad at all. Yep. I'm trying to think of more what we can go over. You guys got to help out here. 46? Okay, yeah, you're not that. You're only 14 years older than me. Well, I'll be coming up on 33 soon. I'm getting old too myself. But I like where I was born because I was born right, I think, at a really interesting time, 85, where I can remember like when there wasn't much technology and then the rise of all of this, where there was some, but not a lot. And as opposed to people who grew up where there was none and then all of this, it's a little bit of a difference. But I think I was born at a perfect time, right? In the 80s, the middle of the 80s. Everything was alive. The 80s was awesome. I remember it. The Beast, what's your best TV show? Oh, my favorite TV show. There's been so many over the years. I love Trailer Park Boys. Borgia is good. Not the Borgia, just Borgia is good. I like Ancient Aliens. I love documentaries. How I Met Your Mother's a good show. Weeds was a great show. Supernatural, been watching that with the wife. She likes it and starting to grow on me a bit. Buffy was a great show. Angel was a great show. Those were two awesome top-notch shows. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, that was a good one. Joss Whedon did a good job. King of the Hills.
They had an episode of Supernatural with Cordelia and Spike.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
James Masters and Charisma Carpenter. Cool. Poor James Masters. He played Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z, the movie, and that was a terrible movie. Howard the Duck. Of course, I remember Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck. It tanked at the box office, but it was a really good movie. I thought it was hilarious. He gets transported from Duck Planet or whatever and lands in some girl's yard. Right up there with those 80s kind of feel movies. If you look at like Short Circuit and Howard the Duck, it was very similar. And yeah, that was a good movie too, though. What else? What else? What else? Guess with all these kids being in school, not a lot of people on X-Files. I have never seen a single episode of X-Files. I think I tried to start watching it just to see what it was all about, and I couldn't get into it.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Lag. Just as I said all these kids must still be in school, Lag joins us from school.
Oh yeah, it's Tuesday. I keep thinking it's the weekend because I'm off.
It's your weekend.
Yeah, it's my weekend. I'm like, nobody's at school. What are you talking about? I forgot. It's
Mac and Me? I don't remember Mac and Me. Family Matters was a good show with Steve Urkel. Full House was okay. The newer ones are funny too. What were some of those other sitcom family funny movies, TV shows? Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was great.
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell. I liked My Brother and Me. That was on Disney Channel. Nickelodeon shows were good. I used to like What Would You Do?
All that.
All of that. Wild and Crazy Kids, Figure It Out. I still love The Price is Right. Although I'd probably be terrible if we went over to if I played The Price is Right. I'm sure you guys have your own version of The Price is Right. Tales of the Crypt. Oh, your sister just started one. That's good. Tales of the Unexpected. I've never seen Tales of the Unexpected, but I do remember Tales of the Crypt, which was fun. Always fun to watch that one.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, kitties. Oh, I didn't even know I could do that. Just tried it to see how it worked. I guess that was okay. Sweet Valley High.
I heard of it. I never watched it.
I never saw Sweet Valley High. Was that a British show or American show? It was an American show? No, I never saw Sweet Valley High. You watched the OC, One Tree Hill. I watched all of One Tree Hill because Evie liked it. You like Gossip Girl, yeah. Gossip Girl's a good show. The dialogue between the mother and the sister is weird how they talk so fast.
Now you're thinking of Gilmore Girls.
Oh, that's Gilmore. Gossip Girls. What was Gossip Girls?
Gossip Girl was the computer where they...
Oh, the bad A friend?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, that's Pretty Little Liars.
Oh.
Gossip Girl had her own social media where they put gossip on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's with that one blonde girl. Oh, see how it is? And then she was trying to make it or break it.
That was the gymnastics.
I know. What did I used to say your lineup was?
Sweet Life of an American...
American
Pretty Little Liar trying to make it or break it.
The Sweet Life of an American Pretty Little Liar trying to make it or break it. That's Sweet Valley High. Oh, it was like Twilight Zone. Okay, well that's cool. Good stuff. Oh, one of the best TV shows ever made in the history of TV shows. Third Rock from the Sun.
No.
Oh my gosh. No.
Wonder Years.
The Wonder Years was another great one. Your wife likes Dawson's Creek?
I watched some of that.
You watched some of Dawson's Creek? Did you ever see the Pokemon version, Dawson's Creek-a-Chew?
That's stupid.
That was in a gaming magazine years ago. And I always remembered it. Dawson's Creek-a-Chew.
You remember everything.
'Cause I remember everything. Good song. I think that's Five Finger Death Punch. MASH was a good TV show. Very funny.
Gilligan's Island.
I watched Gilligan's Island a few times. It wasn't too bad of a show. It was kind of funny.
Andy Griffith.
Never saw a single full episode of the Andy Griffith Show.
Red Green Show is the most amazing show in the world.
The Red Green Show. Evie loves. Have you seen Sky High?
That was a movie, wasn't it?
Is it a TV show or is that a movie? Little Monsters, The Muppet Show. I loved Muppet Babies when I was younger. Muppet Babies, our dreams will come true.
Monsters Under the Bed, or what was that one?
It was called Little Monsters. I have that on DVD with Fred Savage. Great movie.
We watched it on Hulu.
Oh, okay. Well, we watched it. Yeah. That was a good movie. And the girl used the pencil lead to make the sparks so they could slide them. Sky High, that's a little bit more on the Disney side, and that's a little newer than what I really watch now there, Lag. But
Even Stevens.
Even Stevens. I remember Even Stevens. Porridge? I don't know Porridge.
No.
Never heard of it. Move. Don't know Move. What else? Other good film. Alf. Who doesn't remember Alf? Of course, Alf is awesome. Thank you, Nathan. Married with Children is funny. Love Married with Children. Did you miss me out with every shot so far, Peg?
Oh, shit.
Soap.
Am I supposed to have an appointment today? No, tomorrow.
I thought I was supposed to have an appointment with the VA sometime coming up soon, and I totally forgot it.
Oh, no, I gotta call the doctor.
I figured they would have sent me a call reminder. Usually they do, but I haven't gotten
This is
one.
it's supposed to be my 3-month checkup, but I don't have.
Oh, it's British. Soap is British? Okay. No, never heard of it. I used to watch Keeping Up Appearances. That was a British show I enjoyed. Are You Being Served? Grace Under Fire. Are you being served again, or are you still being served? When they started working at the hotel. Last Action Hero. I remember that movie. It was okay. I remember that Arnold movie. It wasn't too bad. That goes into the Sandlot era of movies, where Sandlot, I think, was still one of the greatest movies of that time. It really just like kind of captured everything that was kiddom, if you will. No, like I said, never heard of Soap, Phil. So it probably was, but I have no idea. Isn't it with Heath Ledger or something like that from back in the day? That was a good movie. A Knight's Tale was a good movie. There's so many good movies out there, TV shows they've made that come and go. And for every one they've made that's coming on, Big Bang Theory is still one of my very great TV shows.
They're coming out with a spin-off of Sheldon growing up.
Really?
Yes.
That's going to be great.
I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, they're doing a spin-off.
So there's going to be a spin-off of The Big Bang Theory, and it's going to be about Sheldon growing up. Because you always hear all the stories that he's always telling about how he built a reactor and how the neighborhood kids chased him off and how in Texas and all the... That's going to be great. My favorite horror film? See, my definition of horror, I don't know, might be different, because I think one of the greatest kind of darker movies with like a demonic sense, if you will, would be Interview with the Vampire, which is still, I think, one of the best ever made vampire movies. 30 Days of Night was good. That was kind of terrifying, because you got to think about it. There's really not a whole lot you can do. Usually the sun is a key element for fighting them. I love zombie movies. Dawn of the Dead. I loved 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. I think were two great movies. Walking Dead is still a great show. They just need to hurry up and wrap it up and stop dragging feet on that one. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was good. Saw is good. I think they went a little overboard with them. I think they should have cut off at a couple of them and left them in this kind of like it started turning into kind of ridiculous. And I think that's where they really need to start saying, look, it's time to stop making these movies and let them become uh, classics instead of trying to just capitalize over and over on how much gore can we just, I mean, how much messed up stuff can we come up with? That's really all it turned into, is how can we just torture people in another messed up way? And I think when they start getting to those points in movies that they've lost sight of what the movie was supposed to be about, and it's very much like the Fast and the Furious movies. I think after like the second Fast and the Furious movie, oh, she did, that's great. Let Me In. Interesting vampire movie. Do what? Oh, with like the Fast and Furious movies though, it used when the movie first started, it was about cars, and it had nothing, and there was a plot that had to do with cars. Hostel was okay. Hostel was okay.
Didn't like it.
But then the Fast and Furious movies stopped becoming more about the cars and started always becoming about money and some plot line, money and some plot line, money and a plot line and some cars, as opposed to cars and a plot line. Like the cars in the first two movies were almost characters themselves. And by the third movie, it was getting ridiculous, and then they were just starting to try to build on this huge plot line, and it turned into an action movie about cars to an action movie with cars. And I think that's where they lost me on the Fast and the Furious movies. I think Gone in 60 Seconds, the original, was amazing. One of the longest car chases in history of movies. I think the whole car chase lasted like 45 minutes. The second one with Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie was equally good, but in a different way. Hey, Lag, thanks for stopping in, buddy. Don't forget that thumbs up if you hadn't already. What's some other... Hostel was good, but I never saw any of them, and I have no desire to. The Exorcism of Emily Rose was like interesting. The Langoliers was a cool movie, if we're talking Stephen King. Red Rose was a good Stephen King movie. The Shining, the new, the older one and the remake were really good. I thought. Cujo was okay. I liked Cujo.
I didn't like that one. Like, I mean, it was a good movie, but I mean, it was freaky to me because that can really happen.
Right. Now, see, that's something that's possible.
The
Not in modern days.
The factor of it. Well, no, it's still very possible. Rabies is still out there.
Well, the dog didn't have rabies. Cujo was just a violent dog.
He was foaming at the mouth.
But she'd been...
But if it came down to it, the dog could have rabies, and that would happen.
Right. Well, that's very possible, too. But then also, like, after a few days, the dog would probably wander off and die.
Still, that kid had diabetes, didn't he?
Something like that.
He had something wrong with him, and he needed some kind of treatment.
Oh, no. Ash said one of your favorite movies. How did I know that was going to come?
Elf.
Well, you love Elf. Death Race?
Oh, yeah, that's a good movie.
She loves Death Race. I haven't seen a single one.
We need to watch it.
Interstellar was really a good movie, I thought. What was that other movie we saw? The Martian was a good movie with where he's stuck on Mars. That was actually a really good movie. Chainsaw Massacre?
Didn't you make me watch The Space Between Us? Yeah.
What was that one?
That was where the kid was born on Mars.
Oh, yeah. See,
that was actually decent.
I thought it was going to be better than what it was, though.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity. A kid born on Mars, kept secret. Like, the opening of the movie, I'm like, holy crap. They've got some lightning in a bottle here. If they can just keep this up. And then it turned into a teen flick.
Yeah.
Some woman was born on Mars, secretly born on a mission, pregnant. he was secretly born on Mars, and his bone structure would never be strong enough to be on Earth, and then they came up with a way to get him to Earth. And I was like, okay, we've got an object. It could be good here. But then it kind of turned into a sappy version of the Maze, and what happened to like the first Divergent movie. First Divergent movie was amazing, amazing. What they didn't do well was the follow up. The next movies just sucked, just sucked. They had such an opportunity too, but to go in a different direction, and I think they just didn't. She did a great job on the first one. The Lord of the Rings are amazing movies. The cartoon as well as the original. Interstellar, deep man. Yeah, Interstellar was pretty deep. There's another one I'm thinking about. That was with the guy who travels to the planet. Yeah, okay, all of that was that movie.
I think Interstellar was the one with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney.
That was no, we have that one on Blu-ray. I forget what that's called. Interstellar is the one where he goes to the planet and he goes through the anomaly and Earth is drying up from all the dust and everything like that. And then he winds up landing on a planet next to a black hole, and the gravity is so strong the longer he stays down there, so much time passes. And then they get over to the planet. The one guy freaks out. He's got the robot that helps him roll around and stuff like that. That was a good movie. The one you're thinking about is with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney in space. I forget the name of it, but we have it on Blu-ray. I thought Captain Phillips was a good movie. The Pianist was an amazing film. My favorite comic. I don't read comics. I've never really read comics.
Gravity.
Huh?
Gravity.
Gravity. That was the name of it. I don't really read comics at all, Ash. Comic books have never really been my thing.
Doctor Who. Walking Dead.
Go. Evie would be the one to talk to. So she says Doctor Who comic books, which is really weird. She likes comic books. She will actually sit down and read comic books. I will not.
I only read the two, Doctor Who and The Walking Dead.
Yeah, but still, that's more comic books than I've ever read.
You need to think about getting hungry. So.
Okay. Everyone's kind of starting to trickle off anyway, so. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the original one and the new one. You guys should see the original one. The original one was a BBC production, and I really enjoyed it. My dad read me the books when I was little, and I loved them. So, yeah. Arthur Dent.
And you love Monty Python.
We already covered that one. Monty Python is always amazing. Consider the lilies. What you got against the lilies? Nothing. I'm saying is, look, that the sparrow. Look, he doesn't worry, because God takes care of him. No, you shouldn't either. What you going on about the sparrows now? Consider the lilies. Oh, there he goes again about the flowers. I'm not the Messiah. Only the true Messiah would say he's not the Messiah. All right, I am the Messiah. The Messiah! I say you are the Messiah, and I should know. I followed a few. Oh, that's the greatest movie ever. Life of Brian. The best scene, though, and you have to look at it like this, is the best scene in the Life of Brian is when he's writing on the wall, Romani Aeont Domus. People that call the Romans, they go to the house. What's this? The reason that scene is the most hilarious scene ever is because you have what is to be a Roman and a Jew having a English lesson in Latin with British accents. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Wow, that's a mind-blowing scene. It really is. Oh yeah, man. Life of Brian is great, dude. What's some other good? I'm not a Roman, Mum. I'm a hook nose, a kike, a Jew, a Red Sea pedestrian. I'm kosher, Mum. Oh, right, it does. My favorite scene, too, is when he falls off the building, lands in the spaceship, flies all around, and just happens to crash right in front of the guy. And as Brian's stepping off, you lucky bastard. That's great. That's great. I love when they're standing too. And see, when that movie first came out, there was so much controversy over that movie. And Monty Python was defending itself, saying, look, this is not a movie about Jesus. This is a movie about the guy who was 150 yards away watching Jesus. That's his movie. It's not anti religious or anything. It's just a movie from the point of view of a regular guy watching it. Crucifixion? Oh, no, they said I'm supposed to go free. Oh, okay then. Well, you're gonna go over here. No, I'm just pulling your leg. Crucifixion. You had me going there for a minute. Right, okay. One cross each. Door to the right. Stay in line. uh, have you never seen Life of Brian, Ash, or have you just heard like bits and pieces of it? Another great scene, Life of Brian. He jumps into the hole with the mute, and he lands on his foot, and the guy goes, "Oh, my foot, my foot, my foot." He goes, "Would you please be quiet?" "No, damn. I took a vow of silence, and you jumped in this hole and stepped on my foot and made me break my vow of silence, and now you're trying to shush me?" He's like, "Oh, would you please be quiet for just 5 more minutes?" "No, I've been quiet for years. I feel like singing and dancing. I want to sing and make noise." And then he looks out and he sees this giant crowd running towards him and Brian. He's like, "Whoo!" And he ducks back down in his hole to shut up. "Master, your followers have followed you many miles into the desert." "Well, that's your own fault. They're very hungry and tired. Please, what should we do?" "Oh, I don't know. Go eat the juniper bushes." "A miracle."
"Oh, it's not a miracle. It's my juniper bushes."
The stoning scene is great. "Look, all I said is that this roast was delicious enough for the Messiah, for Jehovah."
"Look, he said it again. Another blasphemy."
"Are there any women present here?" No. "Right. No one's going to throw another stone till I blow this whistle, even if they do say Jehovah." "All right. Back line. Back." Oh, that movie. Every scene in that movie, not a single scene is wasted with anything. I think the scene too where they're sitting in the Coliseum and they're discussing "I want you to call me Loretta." "Why do you want to be Loretta, Stan?" "I want to have babies." "You can't have babies." "Don't you oppress me." "I'm not oppressing you. You just haven't got a womb." "It's my right as a man to have babies if I want to." "Well, look, and then they talk about how they're going to fight for his right as a man, and that it's nobody's fault, not even the Romans, that Stan is a man, and that he can't have babies, but we're going to fight for his right, symbolically, to have babies. Guardians of the Galaxy. Never seen Guardians of the Galaxy. Wow, we've almost knocked out 2 hours of Star Wars and now other movie talk. This has been a good broadcast today. We had a good time. Lots of fun. Got 7 likes. Hopefully you guys hit a few of those share buttons. I'm going to go and do that right now. I'm going to make sure I include our new hashtag it out. Hashtag it out. Yeah, that's what it is. Hashtag. Have I seen Raymond? I've seen a few. To be honest, I never actually watched the show Raymond, but when I would be like at the hospital or something in the army and you'd have to wait in the waiting area, they would have on a bit of Raymond sometimes, so I would catch an episode or two there. And I got a couple chuckles out of it. Not something I would like completely go out of my way to like, oh yeah, this right here. But it had its funny moments. But no, I never watched the actual full thing of Raymond. People have told me about Guardians of the Galaxy, and I heard there's a second one coming out, but I'm just not really super impressed by it. What are you thinking you want for lunch today? We'll go knock it out in just a bit. We'll do about another 20 minutes and we'll be out of here. So, what else? What are some movies you guys should recommend I should see? I've been wanting to see the Onion movie. That looked absolutely hilarious, only because I saw one scene for the movie where it was talking about that smoking cigarettes has been outlawed completely in America, except for one 6x9 shack somewhere in South Wisconsin. Roads to Wisconsin have complete gridlock, and there's a guy in his car. Hurry the hell up! It shows this shack, and there's just cars parked all around it. People standing in there, packed in, smoking their cigarettes. That looks hilarious. And an Onion movie is where they just make up fake news stories. Boardwalk Empire. I have not. Is that a good one? Should I check that one out? Hey Ash, thanks for stopping in, man. I do appreciate you hanging out, buddy. It was a lot of fun. I'm probably getting ready to wrap this up soon anyway. Just wanted to go live to hang out with you guys. And this theory about Anakin and all that, if you guys haven't seen it, go back to the beginning and watch what we talked about in the beginning. And feel free to hit in the comments so that I know what you guys think about my Star Wars theory that I came up with. I don't think anyone's ever touched on it, but it's based off of other theories which would later build onto mine. So you really have to be kind of versed in Star Wars. But go back, check it out, share with your friends. Hopefully they know about it. Good stuff, good stuff. Well, Phil, you've been here for a long time, man. Thanks for stopping in, bud. I do appreciate you hanging out. You spent almost 2 hours chilling with me today. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Good stream today. I always have love when we have a good stream. We had a good topic to cover. Ash's mind blown. He's going to go watch some other movies and re-review stuff. And hopefully that was the whole point, though, was just to get somebody's mind thinking one more time. Skins is a TV show. I've heard of Skins, but I never actually saw it. You know, I started watching Freaks and Geeks, and it wasn't too bad, but I could just never get into it as strong as I really wanted to. So, what are you going to do, though, huh? Good. Well, I will definitely check it out then. Boardwalk Empire and Skins. I will definitely look into those as recommendations. Thank you so much, The Chocolate Factory Hunter. It's an interesting name, too. Yeah, Phil, you've been hanging out since the beginning, man. I really do appreciate it. Love the topic we started with. It was a really good one. Definitely got the old noodles turning. But that's what it's all about, I guess. It's just thinking about things. And just what's presented to you and the hidden messages that they hide in things. That's I think, is always really key. Always really key. If you are joining in, though, on the Star Wars topic, you're jumping in from that. We covered a lot of the Star Wars theory that I had. Go back and watch some of the rest of it, and then you can catch up onto it and then comment and let me know if I made any points or anything that I've been off on, or what you think about your take on the subject. If you know other Star Wars fans, too, please share this to them, tag them, whatever, so that they can chime in onto it, because it would really help out a lot. But, Phil, Bud, I think I'm going to go ahead and get ready to log off of here, man. It's just you hanging out with me now anyway. It started with you, and I think it only seems right that we end with just you. It's been a great pleasure hanging out with you today. Always appreciate it. This was an unscheduled broadcast. I did just decide to knock it out of. Usually I give a little heads up before I fire up one. But I appreciate everybody being able to jump in and hang out for the time being. I had a lot of fun discussing my ideas and my theories with you, and I appreciate y'all's insight and your thoughts and opinions on the matter. We definitely had some eyebrows raised, and that was the entire point of my theory, was to get people thinking about it and just look at it in a different way. And I think that was successfully accomplished. So thank you for everybody who tuned in. Don't forget to hit that like and thumbs up button. If you're watching at a later time, I appreciate you making it all the way to this part, which I doubt you have. But either way, thumbs up, share if you think it's decent and worth it. Subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff like this, as well as all kinds of other weird stuff I do for my videos. Go check out the rest of the channel. I promise you'll be happily surprised. You guys have a great day. Phil, thank you for always checking in with us. That's Brad. If you guys don't know his channel, check it out. As well as Just Ash, Phil Off His Tree, and all the cool people who hung out with us today. I am your boy G-Bomb, and I appreciate you stopping in. You guys have an awesome day. We'll see you later. Just as I get the hiccups.